Anderson the Spider Silva, Israel the Last Stylebender Adesanya, two of the best middleweight champions of all time. And in today's video, I'll be breaking down and giving my opinion on who I think is the GOAT of the middleweight division. But before we get started, let's look at how they match up. Adesanya with the height and reach advantage, Silva with the knockouts and overall title defenses, both with a really good record in the UFC. But to truly see who is the GOAT, we have to look at the competition during both of their reigns. Let's get started with Anderson Silva versus Rich Franklin. Franklin was a champion that defended his belt 3 times before facing Silva, and before joining the UFC was a math teacher. Once the fight started, there was a clear differential in skill between lifelong martial artist Silva and Rich Franklin. Silva's speed was too much, and he eventually got him in a tie clinch and blasted him with knees. Franklin, with no answer, crumbled to the canvas, and just like that, Anderson Silva was a UFC middleweight champion of the world. With a few fights in between, Rich Franklin ended up getting his rematch, but still had no answer for Anderson Silva and got knocked out once again. Afterwards, Rich Franklin's career was inconsistent all the way up until he got flatline KO'd by Kung Lee and retired from the sport completely. The next fighter we will be looking at is Dan Henderson. Even though Henderson wasn't in his prime, he had won 6 of his last 8 fights before facing Silva. The first round started off slow up until Henderson got Silva down on the ground and grinded him out until the first round had finished. Once the second round had started, Henderson again tried to grapple with Silva, but Silva caught Henderson with a knee, rocking him, eventually following him to the ground and getting a rear naked choke submission. The next toughest matchup for Silva, in my opinion, was Demian Maia, but the fight didn't live up to anyone's expectations, with it to this day being one of the worst UFC championship fights of all time, and even pissed off Dana White so bad that he outwardly criticized Anderson Silva to the media.
12, Dana, you said a lot of big words today, embarrassed, disgrace. Is this your lowest moment as president of UFC?
No doubt about it, absolutely, 100%. This was a big event for us tonight. This was a really big moment. I was really excited. I've been here, I've been fired up. I've been on the road a lot, and this whole last, 3 weeks of my life was leading to this night here. The people in this country, including the media, have really got behind this thing, and with support like I've never, ever seen anywhere. I'm really embarrassed.
The next fight we will be looking at is Anderson Silva's most impressive win, in my opinion. Anderson Silva, after having multiple boring decisions, was getting criticized not only by Dana White and the media, but by fans of the UFC. So this fight with Vitor Belfort was absolutely crucial for Anderson Silva to bounce back and get his name and legacy to where it needed to be. The fight started off with both of them coming out aggressive, but Anderson Silva taking the center of the ring, using his kicks and distance management, as prime juiced up Vitor Belfort used his explosiveness to try to catch Anderson Silva off guard with what is coming next to be one of the greatest UFC knockouts of all time.
Oh! He front kicked him in the face! Absolutely right! Trying to finish! It is over! Kick to the face! Anderson Silva!
The next stretch of Anderson Silva's career, he went on to face Yushin Okami, Stephan Bonner, and Chael Sonnen twice before getting matched up with Chris Weidman and losing by knockout, starting a downslide to his career and never regaining the championship belt. Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker is where Izzy would get his first championship win. Robert Whittaker, coming off 2 battles with Yoel Romero, was a tougher challenge than what Anderson Silva had to face in Rich Franklin, in my opinion. And the fight started off with both of them getting each other's timings until the end of the first round, where Izzy would get a flash knockdown before the time expired in the first round. The second round started with Whittaker blitzing in and trying to get one back on Adesanya, but Adesanya, having his timing, leaned back and caught Robert Whittaker with a left hook putting an end to the fight and winning his first championship belt.
Whitaker nearly out on his feet. Adesanya trying to close it out. Israel Adesanya is the undisputed king of the middleweights. Man.
Unfortunately, Izzy would also go on to have one of the worst championship fights of all time with Yoel Romero, having both of them end with a total of 88 strikes in 5 rounds, making the next matchup against Paulo Costa that much more important for Izzy to make a statement. And a statement he did make with, in my opinion, his best performance in his UFC career. Paulo came out strong with his pressure, but couldn't cut off Adesanya, with Izzy doing a good job of maintaining his distance and using his low kicks, frustrating Costa to the point where he eventually landed a high kick, splitting open Paulo's eyebrow. With Costa also wanting to land his shots, he blitzed in, allowing Israel to lean back and catch him on the temple with a left hook, ending the fight.
Oh! Knockdown for Adesanya. Costa trying to recover. That is it.
Wow.
Still undisputed. Quick night at the office for the champion, Israel Adesanya.
Israel would end up going to light heavyweight and facing Jan Blachowicz in hopes of winning his second belt, but ended up losing a unanimous decision. Afterwards, he went back down to middleweight and beat Marvin Vettori and Jared Cannonier, while also facing Robert Whitaker in a rematch, getting a controversial decision win. His toughest matchup of his career was one of the scariest strikers in combat sports history, Alex Pereira. The first fight, Israel looked like he had the upper hand, even catching Alex Pereira in the first round, but eventually, in the 5th round, Pereira would start pressuring Izzy up against the fence, and landed his signature left hook, rocking Adesanya and ending the fight.
Oh, and now a right. Adesanya's on all the way. 2 more. Down goes the champion. Pereira trying to close the show. That'll do it. He did it. Alex Pereira, the undisputed middleweight champion. I don't believe it.
After 4 months away, Izzy would come back for his rematch. In the second fight, it appeared that this time Alex Pereira had the upper hand, pressuring Izzy instantly and landing great low kicks. With Izzy up against the fence, Pereira thought he had another knockout, but this time Israel would evade and counter an over-aggressive Alex Pereira, knocking him out cold and getting his sweet revenge. Adesanya would end up losing his next fight to Sean Strickland, however, and never regaining his middleweight championship again. Another crucial aspect in this debate between who is the greatest middleweight champion of all time. I would be remiss if I did not mention the 2 failed drug tests that Anderson Silva had after losing to Chris Weidman. He popped once in 2015 for an anabolic steroid, and again in 2017 before his match with Kevin Gastelum got canceled. Israel has also been accused of taking steroids, with the first suspicion coming before his fight with Paulo Costa, where he clearly had gynecomastia, something that appears with steroid use and is super rare to happen without it. With all that being said, he was never caught, but nevertheless factors into my mind when debating these two. In my opinion, Israel Adesanya is the middleweight GOAT, having faced the tougher competition and coming back and winning after losing his championship belt. If you made it this far into the video, first off, thank you, and be sure to comment who you think is the middleweight GOAT. If you liked the video, and subscribe, because I'll have more videos in the future. This has been Fight Night Jay. Thank you for watching. Peace.